Patrick and Eric. Yes.
Exactly, absolutely. And sometimes even you.
Yes, myself too. But I think the last time I hosted you was on Alaji and Alaji. Yes.
When we had it outdoors at, I think, Mamobi.
Yes.
That was some few days ago.
Yes, just a few days.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I think before the Christmas, it was a day to Christmas, 24th.
Absolutely.
24th when we had that. Nice to see you. We thank God for life. We thank God for life. And I'm wondering, because when you talk about your area, which is security, for a lot of people, they limit it to police people holding guns and armed robbers and everything. But when you look at the state of the country currently, are you worried about what it means for the security of the nation?
Well, absolutely. But first of all, let me say a very good morning to your listeners and viewers for tuning in. Like you rightly mentioned, security goes beyond the use of arms, the use of force, etc. The most important aspect of security is actually the human security.
Okay.
As promulgated by the UNDP in 1994, it's called the Human Development Report, in which it stated that access to food. Okay, so for example, we have what we call health security. Okay, environmental security. Physical security. The physical security is that part we earlier on mentioned, the use of force, policing, etc. So physical security is an aspect of the whole security thing. It's just a little aspect of it. Okay. Then we have food security. And when we say food security, it doesn't only mean the abundance of food. No. It is in people accessing the food. There can be food, but no money to buy food. Still, that is food insecurity. Okay, so we are not just talking about the availability of food, but people having the purchasing power to access that food. We're talking about economic security as well. People assured of daily, or monthly income as a means of survival, etc. So by addressing these issues, it is premised that it would have an impact on the fiscal security scheme of things. But in recent years, our focus has very much been on the hard aspects. Okay.
The physical.
Yes. And in the past, we had someone in charge of human security at the National Security Secretariat, to be specific, General Nunu Mensah. Yeah. Until he was removed. But since then, even though it is not very pronounced, I think efforts are made within that space to improve the lives of the people. All right. But I don't think it is enough. Sena, if you look closely, and as a researcher, sometimes I take a back seat, observe, do my own research, tests cases and see what happens. And there are a number of approaches we use, and I, on this occasion, speak as a conflict and mediation expert. We have what we call the onion theory, or the pin theory. Onion, because the onion has an outer layer, inner layer, and the very core. And that can be equated to the pin to PIN, position, interest, need. So when you put into perspective the conflict situations we have, for example, Boku, we have always addressed it from the outer layer of the onion. The imposition of curfews, the deployment of military and police personnel, the embargo on, the ride of the use of tricycles, motorbikes, the wearing of fugu because they hide the guns in the fugu, etc. That would only make them stop fighting in the interim.
Okay.
It's not sustainable. It doesn't bring peace.
Okay.
It only silences the guns.
Okay.
But they would live to fight another day. Until we make a conscious attempt to get into the onion, to address those underlying socio-economic and geopolitical deficits in that society that is driving people into violence.
If you're not able to do that,
it's not sustainable. They would keep on fighting. It becomes a cycle, never-ending cycle. And I must say, one of the biggest issues I've realized is accounting for what is going on in a lot of the conflict zones in Ghana, particularly Boku, is poverty.
Poverty?
Yes. Poverty, youth unemployment, people not having enough to live for, but having less to die for. In essence, I'm not working. I sit under a tree from morning till evening. Already, the accounts will say, Abrabono, and yet. So if I'm approached with a pittance and an AK-47, I would gladly go to fight. But if I'm working, when day breaks, I go to the office, or I have something doing at the end of the day or at the end of the month. I make money, I marry, I have children. It's enough to make you have a lot to live for. Education is another problem. Sena, would you believe that there are people who fight without knowing why they are fighting?
Because they're just fighting.
They are just fighting because my father told me the other side is our enemy. Or they killed my uncle. Without even knowing what really transpired. I pick a gun and I'm fighting. Education is key. People having opportunities, access to the basic necessities of life. Because if they don't have access to these necessities, there's already frustration. So a little trigger, then they ride on it. Then they go like chieftaincy. But when you go deep, you would realize that it is more complexing than the chieftaincy which is being peddled all over the place. I'm not rubbishing the fact that chieftaincy is part of the problem. In fact, it is the immediate cause. But in as much as we're concerned about addressing the confusion with the chieftaincy in that area, at the same time, we should support it, we should complement it with addressing the socio-economic issues. That is the way to achieve peace. And in Ghana, we've not been attacked by terrorists before, even though there's, danger looming left, right, center. However, my biggest issue is got to do with the hundreds of unresolved chieftaincy and land disputes.
Unresolved?
In the country. Yes, unresolved. I think the last time I checked was about 350.
350?
Yes. Unresolved chieftaincy and land disputes. Currently, as we speak, it's that time of the year. The headsmen are coming to town, and some of them are coming as far as Zamfara in northern Nigeria. Through Benin. And the Benin authorities, they give them safe passage. So far as you are not staying in their country, it's a transit. So they use that route through Togo and into Ghana, particularly through the OT area. And they are gradually, and there's trouble looming. As we speak, the Ejurahini has instructed or ordered, I don't know how to call it, that no headsman should come into that area. And the headsmen are saying, if we don't come, our cows would starve to death. We We cannot do anything about it, because if you're asking us not to come, it means it's going to affect our livelihood, and we can't survive without them. So it's a clash of survival of livelihood, because on the other hand, the locals are saying, you are coming to destroy our farms. Do you get me?
Yeah.
And so we already have recorded, and I have videos and pictures of it, some indigents already going into the bush to kill the cows. And in fact, I have a video where they even killed the cow, slaughtered and fried it. I have those videos. Okay, and the Fulanis are becoming agitated. They are becoming angry. So I drew the attention of the national security to a looming danger. We need to do something about it. We need to address it. The chiefs, the people, the Fulani community should come together so we can find an amicable solution. And Sena, you know the reason behind all this?
No.
Climate change. So you see, climate is security.
Okay.
Because the place is becoming a desert, you know, the northern part. At this time of the year, the cattle don't have any grass to graze on. All right, so the only option is to come closer towards the tropics, to come closer towards the coastal areas. And when they get closer, they clash with the locals. And that is when you have trouble. So you see the link. Issues of economy, climate, jobs,
yes,
issue of education, all that. It is all security.
All part of it. So, for example, a lot of people are worried about, and I am worried. Everybody's worried about issues of how much kinky costs, how much the oil you use for cooking will cost, tomatoes, pepper, fish, basic food stuff. Even the gobe that we thought was cheap is now no more cheap. How much you can buy cocoa for, among others. People are struggling to get by. If you can't buy food to eat and all those things. And these are issues that are happening to us and also to people we know very well. If you see these kinds of things, do you see a national security threat? Because I'm not seeing the same level of, because whenever they say, oh, there's a high alert on issues of terrorism, you see some movement.
Yeah.
Do you see that urgency that's needed to address this issue? Because it could lead to something else.
Absolutely. Last year, I was in Tamale with Professor Inin for an event, and he spoke extensively about an important issue. The fact that we are in Ghana thinking that our biggest threat is some people coming from somewhere to attack us. But the biggest threats are the internal deficits. So in as much as we're concerned about protecting the borders and to prevent people from coming into the country to harm us, we should be concerned about us harming ourselves. Okay? And one of the ways that can happen is through the human insecurities. Access to food is extremely important. And I must say, towards the close of last year, I don't know what the statistics is now. According to the World Bank, Ghana has the most expensive food in sub-Saharan Africa.
Most expensive?
Yes. Yes.
Really?
Yes. You can quote me anywhere. It's public information. You can check it out. Okay. At the point, food inflation within a month was at about 120%. Even though John Hopkins University, the professor, what's the name? I've forgotten. Put it at about Steve Hanke put it at about 150%. Okay. There's poverty, a lot of poverty in Ghana. I mean, for those of us in the city, at least we are privileged a bit. You might not appreciate it until you go out there, you go down there, then you'd realize that, there are people living in abject poverty. And it is a problem. I must say, it is a big national security issue that needs to be addressed. The cost of food, no doubt, has gone up. Almost everybody is complaining. But the unfortunate thing is the minimum wage. We have, I think, one of the lowest minimum wages in the world.
Okay.
Nigeria is better than us. Togo is better than us.
That's how much
even
we paid.
Even Burkina Faso. I even at a point compared our minimum wage with that of Afghanistan. Trust me, our minimum wage is so bad. Like, I sometimes find it an insult. It's nasty, especially at the time the dollar spiraled out of control. Okay, and if it is so, you can imagine how people would survive. Accommodation, food, bringing up children, they need to go to school and all that. So it is really worrying, Sena. And I think government would have to take practical steps to mitigate. Unfortunately, I don't think much has been done. Now we have VAT going up.
Yeah.
You know, in the midst of all this, when governments all over the world are doing their best to cushion their citizens, now we are rather being overburdened. You know, we're told in this country that e-levy would solve all of our problems. In fact, it made it look like e-levy would put monies into our pockets. E-levy would take us to another level. Maybe we would even brush shoulders with the US.
Yeah.
It was the most unpopular decision yet. You see, e-levy, National Cathedral, very unpopular policies. But lack of accountability. Nobody would listen to you. I mean, you can say whatever you like on radio. We are hell-bent on doing it, and nothing can stop us. And what happened? It failed woefully. We're told that we will not go to IMF. There's no way we can go to IMF, blah, blah, blah. In the end, we went to IMF. And the same one at the helm of affairs, the driver who caused us this mess, is still at the helm of affairs. Is it really true, Sena, that we are a true democracy? Is it not overrated? Because
if you are raising this question,
trust me, I feel our democracy is overrated. We claim to run a democracy and constrict it all to elections. Democracy is bigger than elections. Democracy is about accountability. But we have a lot of people messing up and still at the helm of affairs. All majority MPs, 137, came out to say that we don't want you, you've lost legitimacy, we cannot work with you. But he's still there. And from nowhere, Trade Ministry added. Goodness. Someone who couldn't perform his call and has brought us to where we are today. And from nowhere, you add another ministry. I just wonder what the conversations between them is behind closed doors.
On this issue.
I sometimes I just feel like, Fiom, don't mind them. Because in the midst of all this, that means the ears is locked. Nobody is listening to us. But we need to address these issues. And it is for the love of the country that I'm talking about this. Okay. I'm not seeking to denigrate anyone. But the truth has to be told. Sena, if things don't go well tomorrow, wouldn't you ask we so-called security experts that what did we do about it? What did we say about it? So we can only talk about it, but we wouldn't have the capacity to go drag people from their offices to tell them what to do. So it is up to them to accept it or reject it. But surely food insecurity is a major national security issue
that needs to be addressed.
Absolutely.
Adib Saani is in the studio with me. He's Executive Director, Jakitay Centre for Human Security and Peace Building. 2 minutes past 9. We'll have to take a break. When we come back, we have more. We'll delve into some of the issues that have already arisen. Jubilee House. We'll go all the way to we'll go back to the president's comments, specifically on the issue of Burkina Faso. And exactly what is happening in the sub-region. You're right on top of us. What is happening there that we need to be paying some attention to. We'll be right back.
Imagine strutting into the most anticipated wedding of the year. Only to see 7 other girls wearing your exact same outfit.
You are special and one of a kind, and that's why whether it's voice, data, or SMS, you get to enjoy personalized offers tailored to your specific needs with MTN just for you. Dial *141# or select your options on the My MTN app to redeem your unique just for you package on Ghana's best mobile network. MTN.
Say, Masuma Jome, many langard for any chakabia. Order for Sawo Passasia Mansu be anyone, Assasia one catasem edimu. Look no further. Hearts Builders Real Estate ever sorted out. Yawan Sassinibi was Shine Hills, 13,000 cities, Chopoli 20,000, Ningo Pram plot size and a 70 by 100. By a deposit of 4,000 Ghana cities. Diakano, yes, spread them on next year, Kaka, Pusumin Siatem, who assassin the baby, who perceive Besidan Esisumawa. Hearts Builders Real Estate, your right choice. Yet on plumbing materials, Bia, ye delivery, our and cry anytime. Yes, sans your cleaning services, BAB, Boho, ye too, a Juba Bia for construction, Hono, Men Kotu Sikemu, for one Christmas promotion, ya. Hearts Builders Real Estate at the Mount so. Freya CCR 0555 314 806 0241 665 200. Yawa Ashamai, Yani Mandela Park no enda edi enimshe. Hearts Builders Real Estate. We are your future planners.
One station.
Accra 2022, 23, 24 and more. We don't try by Drema. Back live.
Commercial free.
Versus Mid-Morning Show.
Oh, we love what you have in Bad Drema. Mid-Morning Show.
The Mid-Morning Show.
Yes.
90.5.
Good morning, my neighbors. On Children by Drema.
Experience quality
Radio station.
Put your hands up.
Rave.
Yes.
Powerful. Morning vibes and more. Accra 90.5. We don't try by Drema.
Whoa, we love you.
Your Mid-Morning Show on Radio Go.
We are back like 100 times. 2 times bigger. 90.5. Mid-Morning Show. Wait, don't tell me by Drema.
Mira, say dear, my one dinner basro.
Yeah, me who so what dinner ba. Hey, agbebe MW capsules. And I'm what dinner say. Can ye baby bia with my bread, my tin caniade.
Say agbebe MW capsules no. Abro mini pedua pomuden. And ama me jina me nine so. We dear, a money meme nyina no. Enti ahode no obie bi.
I like that. Agbebe typhoon so the drinking honam say. Won't me di. And now what yare. Num agbebe typhoon bi. Le beme di kama da sa boni paduano akwoti anyarewa
Venus gota asami yem kro eye stomach also use there bibia the din dada
Venus gota ayano kre one man na siesie ye hyem edi ye hunkomo se ya ne ani agye
esa ye beko pharmacy herbal and chemical shops dodo aye frɛ agbeve herbal products 020-8130-790 and 0246-595256 appeal for abata woma nufo ene nkoda woni mfie dumienu nka ho FDA agi edwede nkrato yatum.
And welcome back from that break. 7 minutes past 9. Don't forget we are live on Radio Gold 90.5 FM, live from the studios in Latebiokoshi. We are also live on Sekpele 104.3 in the Bay. You can also watch us on Facebook. The page you should be looking for is Radio Gold 905 FM. My guest in the studio once again is Adib Saani, who is Executive Director at Jakitay Centre for Human Security and Peace Building. And we're just talking briefly about the matter of human security, because no matter how much you think about security, you're also thinking about how long can I also take this and keep quiet. But let's move on to another matter. And Adib, the matter that is currently pressing, everybody's talking about it, is what happened with the Meek Mill incident. What are your own thoughts on it, first of all?
Well, it goes without saying that there was a security breach.
A security breach?
Absolutely. And it makes me wonder whether really the president's handlers are up to the task of protecting the president and ensuring that the country is not mocked.
Okay.
I juxtaposed it with a lot of other seats of government, from different countries. So, for example, for the White House, sometimes they organize very well choreographed tours. Okay. And you cannot take pictures of it. They have designated places you can take pictures.
Okay. Not everywhere.
Not everywhere. And at all times, there are White House officials or someone tasked to be with you at all times. Go here, don't go here, touch this, don't touch this, do this, don't do this.
Okay.
All right? And for the White House, even before you have access, you need to have a security clearance.
Okay.
Not just anyone. An ex-convict cannot go into the White House.
Okay.
Unless maybe perhaps on exceptional cases.
Okay.
But for a place like the Jubilee House, it's more open.
Okay.
Okay. And the fact that Meek Mill was, I think he took advantage of the period they were waiting for the president to do all this. Okay. And it looked like there was nobody around to show them what the protocols or processes are.
Or where to wait.
Where to wait, what to do.
What not
exactly.
to do.
Because you'd realize they had unfettered access to the banquet hall where the president hosts very important state events at the Jubilee House. They also had access to the ceremonial room where the president meets special guests, foreign dignitaries, including diplomats and even heads of states. Okay. And usually when you look at the sitting position, there's this big picture of the president at the top. He sits directly under there.
Yes.
Okay. It's a 3-in-1 sort of chair. So the president sits there alone with the dignitaries flanked to his right and to his left. All right. But when you look at the video, they cramped themselves into the president's seat, where the president sits. 3 of them.
Yes.
Then the walkway is fine. The compound of the Jubilee House, they had a drone. And the drone didn't belong to the state. It belonged to the crew.
Okay.
And we know the very importance of drones when it comes to intel gathering and all that. Even the Russian-Ukraine war, they use a lot of drones. Sometimes even suicide drones, etc. The crew might have innocently captured where it's not supposed to be captured. Some places or installations within that facility that is not meant for all eyes, innocently. And in the editing process, they will do a lot of cutaways.
Okay.
You wouldn't know who might have access to them and who or what he would share it with, and of what resource would it be to that third or fourth party. Do you get me? So there are 2 things to what happened. One, the seeming breach of security, and the other hand, on the other hand, the disrespect for state symbols and emblems. They use the presidential lectern, something that the president uses to address the nation, fellow Ghanaians. I don't blame Meek Mill and his team at all. I don't blame them. They wouldn't know. They wouldn't understand. I blame the president's handlers. Come to even think of it, the way he dressed was wrong.
Okay.
I mean, they are Americans, they are street rappers and all that. That is how they do it. But you're coming to meet the first gentleman of the land. I would have expected Jankoma, who organized this in the first place, to tell him to look a bit more decent. Okay. Then they got there was a group photograph, and lo and behold, one of the guys had his hand on the shoulders of the president.
I think that's a rapper, yeah.
It is wrong. It is disrespectful. I mean, he wouldn't know, but I would expect the hundreds of presidential staffers, and they even want more. What do they do there? Is it because the president's daughter was behind it? Nobody could tell them or draw their attention to the fact that we have processes and procedures to respect. Donald Trump was in his, beast with his, bodyguards and driver. And During the Capitol riots, he wanted them to turn to where it was happening. And the driver and the bodyguard said, no, it's not going to happen. It's for your own safety. Reports has it that Trump virtually struggled for the control of the steering wheel with his driver and the bodyguard just to access the Capitol Hill. And they said no. They refused. So it is not out of place to violate a president's directive to protect him. You see, the presidency is bigger than a person. The president is us and we are the presidents. I, seated here, even though I have a lot of misgivings about the way things are done, would protect the president to the last drop of my blood. And it is every Ghanaian's responsibility, oblivion of your political color, to protect the president. That building is not just a building. It represents a symbol of our democracy. It represents our sovereignty and how far we have come as a people. Okay? Those there are only caretakers. And they are supposed to make sure that it is well protected. So the fact that they have made such grievous mistakes, one thing can be said. They are not fit to be there. And I think hairs have to roll over that goof. And probably those to be brought would have to be trained more. And for politicians to understand that Ghana is for all Ghanaians. You cannot run a presidency as if, it's a family thing. Even if your daughter proposes such a meeting, you should ask, is it the right thing to do? Does it breach protocol? What are the processes? Because now you'd realize that any foreign celebrity who comes to Ghana, straight up to the presidency, anyone who comes straight to the presidency. So sometimes I see them arrive and I go like, the next minute, no, pictures with the president. You see, we are cheapening the presidency. There are so many other high-profile government officials they can meet. Or if we have a lot of them come to town, we can bring them together so they would go see the president. Okay? And I hear people talking about the Jubilee tourism, Ghana. No, please.
Beyond the return.
Beyond the return.
Beyond the return,
okay. The Jubilee House is a security zone. It's not a tourist site. No. It's a security zone. So, you cannot tell me that him shooting a video there would attract tourism to where? Jubilee House? You can't be serious. Okay? Meek Mill said categorically that what he seeks to do is to create a connection, bridge the gap between Black America and Black Africa.
Okay.
Where would have been the best place to do this? Cape Coast, Elmina Castles, Independence Square, and the rest. Those would have been great places to do this. Why does it have to be?
The symbols of our historic symbols.
Absolutely.
But the Flagstaff House is one of them. I know
it
it was recently built, but yes, that particular...
the Flagstaff House is not a tourist site.
Okay.
It is dangerous to entertain tourism in the Flagstaff House, knowing, people and how they can engage in espionage and the planting of bags and all that. We know it. Okay, so... unfettered access shouldn't be allowed unless you have business doing in the building. Okay. I know sometimes some few tours could be organized. Okay. But it has to be very well regulated.
Okay.
But if we are incapable of regulating a few of Meek Mill's, crew, then how do you think we can do this? So to be on the safer side, we shouldn't entertain these things at all.
I realized the word you used when you were talking about the White House. You said they organize what you call very well choreographed tours.
Absolutely.
In this case, because everybody, I even saw people on Twitter sharing an American comedian's interview or
James Corden.
Yes. when you saw that, what came to mind and the justification?
You see, people usually do. I even had someone saying ignorantly that but they film movies in the White House. Like, yeah, you must be crazy to think movies are filmed in the White House. White House Down wasn't done in fact, it wasn't even done in Washington. It was far from Washington. You know, they have studios. They would do a replica, and some of them are green screens. You know, green background screens. Nothing is there, but using CGI technology, you know, graphics, they are able to create it to make it look like that is the White House. Okay. You see, James Corden, they do this. Even Obama did it and all that. It was Trump who was unfriendly to even, you know. At the point, he even didn't attend the White House president's dinner, for White House press dinner, because of the jokes they crack and all that. But with that one, like I indicated, it's choreographed, okay? And even the shots, they don't allow wide-angled shots. It's very specific, and it would not have any security implication.
Okay.
Because of the nature of the shots. In fact, I'm sure they would vet it over and over and over again. Even the cutaways, before it is brought out.
So there are specific agreements on what you're using your camera to shoot, which areas you can shoot.
Absolutely.
And how you shoot.
Absolutely.
All of that.
Even the angles.
Okay.
Even the angles. So you cannot compare what happened with Meek Mill's too. Meek Mill's was very unregulated. Like there was nobody there to tell them what to do or what not to do.
In fact, the part that worried me, and I don't know if you saw Meek Mill's own tweets on this issue, and the part that was essentially worrying, and it says, I don't think they knew it was video footage when we asked to shoot. So which means that he said that they asked to shoot. Because it's a small camera and one kid.
Can you imagine? So if if the security didn't know, then it shocks me. Because Sena, so far as I'm concerned, they take your phone.
Yeah.
And any recording device, whether it is a camera recording device or audio, from you when you are entering the Jubilee House. So how come they were able to take their phones in with a so-called small camera and all that? Were they even searched at all? Because if they are able to take their phones and the rest in
small camera,
I wonder if they were searched. And I wonder whether they went through the reception. And I'm sure they just drove in. Because guess who is behind? A powerful woman.
The president's daughter.
You get me? And that is very disturbing, very depressing, that such a thing can happen without them even knowing that it is happening. It means you are not critical, you are not paying attention. It's Meek Mill, I want to have a picture with you. That's it. That's it. And you tell me not to be worried about the competence of the president's handlers? No, we have to be worried. And in as much as what has happened is unfortunate, it should be a learning curve for us to improve the security around the president going into the future.
Your suggestion is, okay, so right now the question that's being asked is, how should they be responding to this? Or they should just keep quiet, continue to keep quiet? The presidency.
No, absolutely. They don't need to. Sometimes, in an attempt to justify just everything, you might be making a mockery of yourself, okay? As a communicator, I think government should have accepted the fact that, yes, indeed, there were some mistakes, and we are making efforts to correct the mistakes. Okay, so it doesn't happen again. And whoever is found culpable would be dealt with, and it ends there. But when you try to, I mean, they have a way they usually couch it, okay? When you try to justify the unjustifiable, you make yourself look foolish. Excuse my language, okay? So I think the way it has been, so far as I'm concerned, we have not had any government statement. It's just some few, communicators who are, making a mockery of themselves. But I think, considering the viral nature of the video and the discussion, which has even gone international, government should issue a statement. So this is, put to rest once and for all. But it shouldn't end there. Efforts should be made to improve the security of the Jubilee House.
Who should be answering the questions that we are asking? The question of how did this happen? Who allowed this to happen? And who pays for it? Who should be answering those questions?
Okay, so I understand the minority is wanting to engage the National Security Minister. We have a security team at the Jubilee House, and obviously they operate with instructions from the Ministry of Finance, and it's a combination of different security agencies. We have the military, the police, some from the I think National Intelligence Bureau, etc. Okay. The National Security Minister has oversight responsibility for all of the security agencies. So I think it is he who has to answer the questions, and it is he who has to take up possibly the what do we call it, overhaul of the security in that area, because if something goes wrong, it is him who would blame. Okay. I know he has a lot of experience. He's done. I've been a fierce critic of Honorable Kandapa, but I do know a lot of work is being done to improve the security of the state. But surely a lot more has to be done to improve the security of the seat of government.
Let me read to you. This is Richard Ahyangba. He's Director of Communications of the NPP. He speaks for the party which the president comes from. And he says Meek Mill's music video was not sanctioned by the presidency. Its permission was not sought whatsoever for the use of the video. The musician has realized his indiscretion, apologized, and taken down the video. How does that sound to you?
I think what he's saying confirms what Meek Mill also said. He's saying they didn't sanction it.
Yeah.
And Meek Mill, on the other hand, is saying they didn't know.
Yes.
You get me?
It's a Jubilee House, they don't know.
They didn't know. So, first, if they didn't sanction, how did it happen? That means there was a breach.
Okay.
And on the other hand, Meek Mill said they didn't know he was shooting it. How did that also happen? Because they were not paying attention. So what it means is anyone can just enter the Jubilee House and do as he wishes. It is wrong. It is wrong. So I think we need an apology and we need some explanation. Something has to be done about this. It doesn't have to end here. And I'm hoping something really is done about this. I'm counting on the National Security Minister. I'm counting on the National Security Coordinator to do something about this situation so it doesn't happen again. I mean, mostly I drive by the Jubilee House on my way to work.
Okay.
Recently I even saw some digging in front of the Jubilee House. I think they are planting some cables and all that. So anytime I'm passing, I'm looking to see whether whilst they are digging, there are some security personnel looking on. The last time I passed, I saw two tipper trucks on the lawn. Okay, just in front of the Jubilee House. I think they were discharging some sand. Okay. And I was looking closely to see whether there are some, because at all all times, once works is ongoing, at all times, so far as they are there working, you should be looking. Do you get me? Yeah. I saw some few individuals there. I don't know whether they were plainclothes security personnel, but I mean, the security of the Jubilee House is extremely important, and we have to pay attention.
This is from Seidu. Seidu Pebu used to work at what is called the Jubilee House. Okay. I think at the time it was called Flagstaff House. And let's settle this once. Look, the Jubilee House was one of the best and most powerful CCTV system in Ghana, which reaches long distance. For security reasons, we don't want to give more details. In fact, one of the pictures, I saw someone dressed like national security operative. The presidency is aware of the shoot. So he says that there's no way they would have known what the guy was doing.
Well, either way, it is wrong. So if they knew, why didn't they do anything about it? If they didn't know, how didn't they know? Okay? But in my opinion, Sena, I am forced to agree with him.
That they knew?
Yes. Look at the video. Critically, just watch the video. But I think the person involved, they had to tweak the rules to serve her wishes.
Now, this raises questions about how the president is perhaps perceived at the Jubilee House, especially when it comes to family members.
Absolutely. I mean, sometimes I go like I admire the president when it comes to the way he protects his family. But obviously, I mean, if it is you and I, that's fine. But he's the father of the country. He belongs to us all. I'm his son. You are his son. Jankuma cannot monopolize him. Do you get me? So he has to be...
the president allows it.
It's wrong. But if we have people around the president who tell him the truth, you see, that's why I love the Americans. John Bolton, former U.S. ambassador to the UN, who later became a national security advisor, disagreed with Trump on two major issues. I think the first was on the Iran issue and the North Korea. Okay. And it was like, since you are going left and I'm going right, I'm sorry, sir. It's been great serving you. I'm gone. I'll be gone. That's it. If I talk to you, you don't listen, I go. But here, we lack these principles. You see, we love to tell our masters what they want to hear. Sena, we love to tell them what they want to hear. Look, I wish everybody was like me. I will tell you, Sena, I mean, this election you are going into, it is highly unlikely you would win. But if you want to try it so we make a mark, fine. But how many people, it's highly unlikely you won't win. You won't win. Because when I look at it, so if you want to go, fine, I'll support you. Okay? Maybe you want to go for another purpose to, have a mark, leave an impression, something like that. But do you think with the caliber of presidential staffers we have, they will be bold enough to tell the president, the vice president, their masters there the truth?
Because the optics do not look good.
They would not tell them the truth. Because the masters also want to hear. You see, when you tell them what they don't want to hear, in the end, you are seen as an enemy within, even. But I wish everybody was like me. Sena, I will say it how it's supposed to be said. I always tell people that, hey, boot licking might get you there, but it won't keep you there. Sometimes, to be assertive, to be strong-willed, to have principles, might shake you up a bit, but in the end, it will be worth it. You don't always have to bootlick to be powerful. You might be powerful, but it will be unsustainable. Okay? That is why I enjoy my life. I enjoy my life. I mean, I can't call myself a rich man, but what I think is my wealth is that principle. Nobody can boast of ever being able to influence my opinions on any national issue. Okay, and that is how we should live our lives. And I'm hoping that
you see that a lot more on the presidency, because I was looking at the video and I see even in the forecourt where he was shooting, you could see his friends at the back all scattered around.
All scattered. It was a free for all.
Who was monitoring what they were doing?
It was a free for all, Sena. And it's almost impossible for them to be there without someone looking on. But they were helpless. You see? So protocols are protocols. Okay, protocols cannot be customized to serve egos. We need to follow it because we're talking about the father of the nation. Mistakes were made. We cannot deny that fact. I know government officials who don't even want to speak about it because they know, it's a big gaffe. But I'm hoping, like I said, it will be corrected. But as for us, when these mistakes are made, we'll talk about it. Keep on talking about it until the right things are done.
Let's stay with the matter of the presidency for a moment and talk about, because one of the earliest things we had to talk about was the things he said in that meeting with the U.S. Secretary of State about Burkina Faso and what was happening in there. In fact, you were worried. In fact, you sent me a write-up. One of the very first people to draw my attention sent me a write-up on what was happening, how Burkina Faso was responding immediately to it. Let's start from the beginning. What was wrong with what he said? Expressing concern about what is happening right on top of you. We'll come to what is actually happening there. But what was wrong with what he said? Or was it where he said it or who he was saying it to?
Yeah. Everything is wrong with who he said it to, where he said it, and what he said.
What he said was a problem.
What he said is
who he said
a problem.
It to, where he
yes,
said it to.
Where he said it was a problem.
What was it?
Okay, we can start with the where. This is a president who is a former chair of the ECOWAS. Okay. And has always touted the need for us to solve our problems as Africans, right? So even if you have any reason, assuming that, Ghana had a legitimate concern, what would you do? You would make an effort to reach out to your counterparts in Burkina Faso. We are very respected. We are one of the most respected countries in Africa. They listen to us. We have been at the forefront of the many initiatives, including ECOMOG. The first commanding officer of ECOMOG, General Arnold Kwenu, was a Ghanaian who led it in Liberia. Okay? When every country left Rwanda during the genocide, we were there. We were there with the people every step of the way. General Romeo Dallaire noted it in his memoirs. His deputy was Honorable Kuku Anyido, whose father. I've had the opportunity to sit on a show with him during Kofi Annan's funeral at the International Conference Centre. He was the deputy commanding officer. Okay, so Ghana has contributed troops to many, hotspots around the continent and even beyond. We are still in Lebanon, So I would have expected that the president would reach out to his counterpart. If things don't work out well, he would reach out to Abuja.
Okay.
ECOWAS. If still doesn't go, which is unlikely that he would reach out to ECOWAS or even his counterpart and things will not go well, then we take it to the AU. If it doesn't work, we take it to the UN. US is not part of the equation. Okay. And it almost looks like we are snitching on a brother.
So first thing you thought we should have done is to reach out to the Burkina Faso and say, we are concerned about, should we be worried?
Yeah.
Should we be worried in the first place?
And we have a very cordial relationship with the Burkinabes. I mean, about a month or two ago, we were together with other countries from the sub-region at the International Conference Centre to talk about the Accra Initiative. During the conference, we had even more French speakers than English speakers. Okay. And they were up for it. They were very happy. You know, the joint task force they are committing to establishing at the Accra Initiative. I made that proposal. During the event, and it was duly captured, and now it's being implemented. Okay, and so if we are cooperating with them to implement various aspects of the Accra Initiative and the rest, and now it looks like we are snitching on them, that would definitely affect the level of cooperation. Okay. We share intelligence a lot. And mind you, there are some terrorists they kill in Burkina Faso during firefights. Search them and find evidence that has links to Ghana. Not once. Trucks impounded in Burkina Faso carrying explosive making materials and even TNT for investigation to conclude that it came from Ghana. Do you get me? So if there's that cordiality, we share intelligence. They are fighting the terrorists directly, so they understand the terrorists more than we do. So we count on them for intel. But with what has happened, they'll be careful.
The kind of intel
they might not be giving us everything, knowing full well that we are with the Americans, and whatever happens, we might just hand it over to the Americans. So that was the danger. And there's no way we can prevent violent extremism in Ghana without Burkina Faso. In fact, Burkina territory is our biggest threat so far as foreign infiltration to Ghana is concerned, even though we have threats from the east and the west as well. But the northern frontier is the biggest issue.
Our border with Burkina Faso.
Yes. And according to WANEP, I think somewhere in 2020 or 2021 or even perhaps 2019, there were, I think the approved routes was supposed to be about 12 or so, something like that. But the illegal ones getting to almost 200.
Approved border routes?
Yes.
Were about 12?
Yes. Okay. No, I think there were about 30, something. I've forgotten my figures. But a count of the illegal crossings was about 200.
From Ghana into
just between Ghana and Burkina Faso. Okay, and some of them are footpaths. You just wake up, you walk into Burkina, you walk into Ghana without any form of security check. Okay, so it is worrying. I've had one of my senior colleagues within the security space just recently go around the border areas, and it's not everything I can say on radio, but he was disappointed. I can't use the word he used, but he was disappointed at the level of preparedness. Okay, so we are counting on the Burkinabes as well. And their prime minister, when he came to Ghana, said something that I found profound. It was like, you wouldn't want us to relax our border and the people would come into your country so you feel what we are feeling.
You would not want them to relax their border.
Security. And the terrorists would infiltrate, come into Ghana. So we will feel what they are feeling, what they are going through in Burkina Faso. That is profound. So we need the Burkinabes more than we need America. Okay. 2, Burkina Faso is a sovereign country. we have no right to tell them what to do, so far as it doesn't pose a direct or indirect threat to the security of Ghana. The same way we went into defense cooperation agreements with the U.S., who have, their military installation here. Nobody complained. The Burkinabes also have a right to do what they can. And you see, in foreign policy, we say that when it comes to the protection of the state, there's no morality. The U.S. is bombing targets in Afghanistan, in Yemen, Somalia, Niger, all over the place to protect U.S. national security. And sometimes collateral damage, children get killed, but there's no morality. There's no immorality to that, because it's about protecting the, American society. It is illegal for a U.S. citizen to be killed by U.S. intelligence. But they killed Al-Laki in Yemen because they said, no, we are protecting the state. All right? So Burkina can engage Wagner. So far as Wagner doesn't step a foot into Ghana. The same way we can engage the British, the Americans. So far as they don't harm any other country, we are cool with it. All right, so Burkina is a sovereign country. We have no right to tell them what to do. And the issue of so-called mercenaries is not new. Okay, when President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, was a foreign minister of Ghana, he knew, because he's a foreign minister, what Blackwater was doing in Iraq. Yeah. Do you get me? The Turkish, they have their mercenary groups fighting along the Free Syrian Army against Bashar al-Assad in Syria. They have their mercenary groups who are fighting in Libya alongside the UN-backed administration in Tripoli against the Emirati Egyptian-backed Colonel Haftar, who is fighting the central administration over who to rule the country. Okay. The Emiratis, the Saudis, they have their mercenary groups who are fighting in Syria, in Libya, and of course are fighting in Yemen against the Houthis. The Americans, they have their mercenary groups. Blackwater, they've changed their name because they were accused by Human Rights Watch and even Amnesty International for engaging in gross human rights violations, in particularly Iraq, especially even cited for the killing of women and children. All right. So this is no news. I mean, countries use mercenary groups because there's no accountability. When they go and die, the opposition cannot question the defense minister, how many of our troops died. No. They are not a state security agency. So that's the convenience of it. I'm not condoning it, because I know, just as any other mercenary group, Wagner has also been engaged in so-called human rights violations in Central African Republic, in Sudan, in even Ukraine, because I understand there's been a massive deployment of Wagner into Bakhmut and some other contested areas in, the war in Ukraine. All right, so it is a foreign policy issue. You get me? So when you don't understand the nuances, when you don't understand the nitty-gritty, you might just be giving a pedestrian analysis to what is going on. All right? So I think it's unfortunate, because that also has the potential of a lot of other countries looking at us with suspicion. Okay. Sena, many countries within West Africa are beginning to look to the East. Rather than count on the West. Okay. Yes, Mali. They've said, no, we don't want to work with the French again. Because since they are coming, it looked like they are coming for their own, purpose. Okay. Not to protect the country. The area is rich in uranium. Niger, they are also reconsidering, just that the man in power, it came through undemocratic means, so he doesn't want to have issues with Macron. Okay? There were deep French resentments in Ivory Coast, especially in 2010 and 2011, before Laurent Gbagbo was removed. Okay. Burkina Faso, when the coup happened, there were people in the streets of Ouagadougou and Bogodelaso waving Russian flags, so to speak, wanting to reinvent their international relations. They think that the French is not helping. Operation Barkhane, Takuba, and the rest. When it happened, when it started, we didn't have the terrorists controlling such large swathes of land in Burkina Faso. Today, as we speak, they control over 60% of the land in Burkina Faso.
The
terrorists, yes, way over 60%. I just didn't want to, but that even might be a conservative figure.
60% of land.
Yes.
In Burkina Faso.
Yes, in Burkina Faso.
On top of us.
Yes, the terrorists. Trust me. And this is public information. Any one of our listeners or viewers can go look it up online. Militants control over 60% of Burkina Faso as we speak. Burkina Faso is in dire need. It's in distress. It's in a fight for survival. So if they go and get mercenaries to help them, how is that your business? And it's even in our interest. Because if they take over Burkina Faso, which country do you think they would eye? And we are the beasts. You know, Ghanaians generally, we are the beasts. I pray such a thing doesn't happen ever in Ghana. Look, it will collapse us, even without it. Even a war happening hundreds and thousands of kilometers away, we blame it for everything we are going through. So you can imagine, if there's an attack on Ghana or Ghanaian soil, I pray it doesn't happen. And I have so much confidence in Honorable Kandapa and his team, especially those at the National Counter-Terrorism Fusion Center, a team of very experienced core security people who are doing a lot of work behind the scenes. But they can't do it without you and I, Sena. They can't do it without the people. That is why I think see something is a great initiative. But we need to widen the scope.
Do a lot more sensitization.
Absolutely.
Because if we're talking about what is happening right on top of us alone, that should scare anybody.
Absolutely. The National Security Coordinator, Mr. Asumeni, I know has also been doing a lot of work behind the scenes, but I would plead that they engage civil society more. We've had meetings in the past, at I think Best Western Hotel and the rest. But the meetings is not enough. We need action. We need to talk. How do we help implement? How do we help reach out to the people and get them to know what exactly to look out for? Because the last time my center, the Center for Human Security and Peace Building, we did a very modest survey asking people what to look out for, exactly what to look out for. Because we always go like, see something, say something. But we don't go into the nitty-gritty
of what
exactly to
when
look
they
out for.
see, they should say.
Exactly. What to see, how to see it, what to say, and when to say it, and all that, and perhaps the last one, who to say it to. All right. So we asked people, believe it or not, a lot of them said that they were looking for bearded men. About you,
Then Patrick would be so.
Patrick would be a serious terrorist. But on a more serious note, I think it's unfortunate. People learn to, and this gives me the opportunity, Sena, to just give a few of the tidbits. Okay, if you see someone secretly taking pictures or videos of a very sensitive infrastructure, like power grids, like the Jubilee House, like military installations, etc., or even where a lot of people frequent, malls. The person is secretly taking pictures of the exits, the entry, and all that. You should be willing to ask questions. 2, if you see someone with a blueprint of very sensitive installations, he's not an architect of the Akosombo Dam, of the Jubilee House, of high-rise buildings. What is the entry point? What is the exit? Because what they do is, we have the primary explosion and the secondary explosion in Somalia and other places, okay? And, on this occasion, too, I speak as a terrorism and counterterrorism expert, okay? After the primary explosion, which might be where there are not so many people, it is natural that people would respond to it and run towards the exit. And that is where the secondary explosion goes. Okay. So they need to know what the entry points are, what the exit points are, where people are likely to amass and all that. Okay. And when you see people gathering things such as weapons, explosives, and all that, we need to ask questions. Someone coming to the market buying a lot of food, he's not a food business person. He's buying it, transporting it somewhere. We need to ask, where is the food going to? Because he might be supplying, terrorists and all that. We need to look out for certain signs, especially the telltale ones, the red flags. Our siblings at home, our fathers, our mothers, when their attitude changes, when they become radical in a way, we need to draw the attention of the authorities. And I think with that, we would also be doing our bit to support. And the media also have a lot of... Yes, and the media also, you have a lot of... a lot to do. But I don't know whether you've been approached by the national security.
Actually, you see, and I was just coming to that. Because in this kind of situation, all you want is to engage as much of the media as possible. There should be no, what do you call it? Discrimination. Pick and choose. But for a situation where, even in engaging the media, the government chooses based on who they like, would that be helpful?
No, absolutely not. I mean, you cannot discriminate. Okay. The media is an important tool. And when it comes to matters of national interest, we put the politics aside. Okay. We have, even in the U.S., we have right-wing media, left-wing media. I listen to Tucker Wilson a lot on Fox. I listen to the others to the left as well, the CNNs, etc. It is only natural within, the democratic space. But when it comes to issues that fringes on national security, you have to look beyond the political divide. It is wrong. There's no justification. You get in touch with the media houses. I mean, those especially who communicate or transmit using the local language. So we can get as many as possible involved. Even if you are not going to give them money to air some, special promos, you bring all the media personnel together and let them understand what is going on. So in their reports, they will be conflict sensitive. They will know exactly what to tell the people at the least opportunity. So we would have as many Ghanaians as possible informed. Many are ignorant too, Sena.
Yes.
Many. Yesterday, I had a call from my bank, so-called my bank. And he was talking about merging my Ghana card with my bank account and asking me for my visa number and all that. I was like, Master, bro, I'm busy. Don't waste my time. Then he started insulting me. But a lot of people fall for this. I mistakenly sent you money on Momo. An old trick, very old colonial trick. I mistakenly sent you money on Momo. Please send it back to me. People fall for it. People are very security unaware. But with education, so this gives me the opportunity to make an appeal to Radio Code. One of these days we can come talk about, fiscal security and what Ghanaians can do to protect themselves rather than rely on the men and women in uniform, hook, line, and sinker. We also have a role to play. Absolutely.
They have started. We will do a lot more. We have to go. I wanted to ask you whether we've been able to smoothen out whatever what fallouts that might come up from the statement the president made? Have we been able to say something?
I made a statement in the heat of the movement. I said that the National Security Minister, Honorable Kandapa, should quickly lead a delegation, a high-powered government delegation, and that's exactly what happened. He has that man is very respected within the West African sub-region, particularly. He has a lot of experience in some of these things, and thankfully he was able to do a great job. A great job, but it shouldn't end there. For now, they are okay. We are cool. We are friends now again. But one thing is for sure, they would not trust us as they used to be to trust us. You know, French, they are different people altogether. You know, once you nail the wood and remove the nail, that hole still remains. And even if you patch it, it cannot be like it used to be. We should also make an attempt to reach out to the Russians and get them to understand, look, we are not against you. Because this is not the first time. Remember, we blamed food prices for Russian invasion of Ukraine. And the Russians issued a statement. This is what we export to Ghana. Ghana, this is what you export to Russia. So what is it? How does it correlate? And from nowhere again, we are stepping on their toes. I think it's not healthy. You never know when you would need them. So we need to make an attempt to reach out to them and to get them to understand that, hey, we are still your friends and it was a mistake.
Well, we have to go. But before we do that, let me remind you that MW capsules is what you need if you are a man, you have problem with vitality, vigor, and strength. You are a woman, you have the same problem with vitality and low libido. You have those problems. You need MW capsules. Venous gutter is also good for the treatment of stomach ulcer, which includes peptic ulcer, gastritis, and duodenal ulcer. It also treats urinary tract infection, vaginal discharges, penile discharges, and burning sensation in the private parts. Both products, Agbeve MW capsules and Venous gutter, are available at any herbal shop, drugstore, pharmacy, and chemical shop within your locality. For more information, call Agbeve Herbal Center on 024 65 95 256 or locate them at Sohutum last stop. Adib, thank you very much for making time to join us.
My pleasure always. My pleasure always.
We'll have more time to have conversations on security as a year.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Well, coming up is Ochame Baju.